talking about, man?
Talk about it.
What?
I don't get it.
I'm so damn confused.
What's this?
Talk about it.
What is going on here?
What's this?
Talk about it.
Wait a minute. I get it. Just do it.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
It's that time again. Time to hit those Zoom links and hit those spaces.
Talk about it.
Time to get your butt in the box and join the conversation.
Talk about it.
About what? You decide. Right here. Only on Talk About It.
Well, duh.
Here we go. Make sure I get that mic on. How's the hell is everyone doing tonight? Okay, I've got everything running up on the X, on the YouTubes, on the Rumble. Just making sure I got that. Welcome back to Talk About It Livestream, the show where we talk about anything and everything as long as it's interesting, because that's what we do here on Talk About It. All right. So I know I've been away for a little while, and I apologize for being away for a little while, but listen, I had some other things going on in my life, okay? And last week was just a hell of a freaking week, and I was exhausted. Didn't even have time to put together a show, so I just took the week off. I know. Now I mentioned before in previous streams, you know, I was accepting a new job, and so I'm working on that, which is taking up some extra time. But I've also got some other interesting news. I've applied for another job, and if I get this one, oh my God, it'll be my dream job. It definitely changed everything up, so it'd be great. But a little bit more to come on that. Hopefully, just keep your fingers crossed for me, okay? And also another announcement: we've got another Culture War Live event coming up here soon with Timcast, and that's going to be pretty awesome. So I'm getting a message here. Let me see what this is. This is. Oh, no. I've got a no. Why do I have a no? I've got my Katie telling me that I got a no, and I don't know what a no is. So hopefully she could tell me what the no is. I don't know. You have to tell me what the no is. You have to send me a message here and let me know what the no is. But, no, so we have Culture War Live podcast, Timcast Culture War Live podcast coming up here again soon. I'm planning on being at those events, so make sure you're tuning in for that. And also, you know, Romanation. If you haven't joined Romanation yet, I don't know what the hell you're thinking. You need to get over there and join Romanation. It's freaking awesome. And Roma's going to be putting on some awesome after party events for the Culture War Live event, which some of the Timcast crew come to. So make sure that you are joining the Romanation server over on Discord, so that way you can get in on those after party things. It'll be awesome. But okay, what are we getting into today? I didn't really invite anybody to come join the show with me today, but I do want to rant about something. And if you haven't caught it yet, Steven Crowder, I was so excited about this. Steven Crowder brought back Change My Mind. I was so thrilled about this. I mean, if I'm being honest, I'm just going to put it out there. I was always a little somewhat disappointed in Charlie Kirk's version because it just didn't feel the same to me. And I gotta say, I've actually changed my mind on Steven Crowder's Change My Mind, as well as I've changed my mind on Charlie Kirk's event. I believe he called him Prove Me Wrong. Oh, she's saying, oh, I can't reveal any details. I wasn't going to reveal any details. Come on now. But thank you, honey. I appreciate it. Keeping me in check. But no. So when Charlie Kirk went out and he was doing his Prove Me Wrong events, I always felt that it just didn't quite feel right because Crowder did these Change My Mind events and he's sitting there side by side having these debates with people. And those previous Change My Mind episodes were awesome. I loved them. You had the crowd getting involved. They were just great events. And I understood that there was a security threat with him doing those. And I appreciated him for doing them anyways. I really did. And yeah, true. He didn't really talk all that much about how dangerous these were. And those, unfortunately, I believe did lead to the tragic events with Charlie Kirk. However, I have to correct my previous opinions of Charlie Kirk's. I have to agree with a lot of other people. Looking back, I believe that Charlie Kirk did it better. He didn't have people sitting right next to him like Crowder does, but he had the whole freaking crowd engaged in these things. And then he would have someone step up to the mic, and then they would go back and forth. And the audience would pick the topic and just debate them about the topic. And they would go back and forth. And he would always have these civil discourses, and it'd be on speakers, and so everyone could hear them. And frankly, it's one of the reasons that he was so successful with luring the youth to conservatism. He turned them into these huge rock star concert events that were freaking awesome. Where Crowder's, they were getting some pretty large audiences, but, it wasn't really projecting. So anyways, Crowder brings back Change My Mind, and I'm super excited about it. Thank God. Okay, someone's going to continue this. I knew that Crowder had put it down, but at least Charlie Kirk picked it up. But then with the passing of Charlie Kirk, there was a little bit of concern of who was going to continue. And kudos to him. Crowder felt that he felt compelled to pick it back up again. And I was really, really thrilled that he did that. But at the same time, little disappointed because, this is kind of what we got. And you can see some of the visuals here as they're going out there. Okay. Yeah, we've got him approaching, and he has really ramped up the security. Understandable. Completely understandable. Yes, he's wearing, a flak jacket. He's got bulletproof glass up there and all that stuff. But at the same time, what he's doing is he's not promoting these events. And the reason he's not promoting them is because he doesn't want to allow someone that seeks to do harm an opportunity to prepare. And I get that. I completely get that. The problem that we're running into, though, is that he announces these events the day of. And when he announces these events the day of, the only people that are going to get that announcement and show up are going to be people that follow him. That's really it. And another thing that I noticed whenever I was watching these, I watched both episodes. I was really looking forward to that contention, that heavy debate that we used to get. But he just steps on this campus, out of the blue, sits down and does this, and come to find out, this is a good thing. It really is a good thing, but it looks like students are a heck of a lot more conservative than they used to be, which is, like I said, it's a good thing. That means that the culture is swinging. He's not encountering a lot of hard-leaning leftists. In fact, the girl on the screen, I think, was the furthest left-leaning person he spoke to, and she wasn't even a left-winger. She had some misconceptions of what the left is about, but either way, she was probably the most contentious that he dealt with. And that's why I feel like these events, they need to be promoted. If they're not promoted, then from that point, you're not really going to get the back and forth that we need in order for this content to be engaging, that's going to make people want to watch it. Honestly, I found myself skipping through a lot of the stuff because the conversations, there wasn't enough push in each conversation. It was just, yeah, I agree. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And then just little tiny disagreements, and that's like you have your friends that you share everything, every point of view with. You agree on everything, but you disagree on which actor should have played the role in a movie or something like that. It was, frankly, I don't feel that this is where it needs to be at all. He's got the bulletproof glass up. He's separating himself from the crowd, from the audience. So you're not even getting the engagement from the audience anymore. And I get it. He says, hey, this is what Changed My Mind was supposed to always be about. It was just supposed to be about these two people just sitting down having a civil discourse. I get that. But that's what we have podcasts for. And there's no point in going out and doing these man on the street things, if you will, to get these types of large events if you're not going to engage with the audience. They should at least have some PA speakers so that way the audience can hear. As you can see, it's just such a small crowd. You don't have PA speakers. Everyone's just quiet and just mingling around as these two people are having a conversation in the corner. That's not appealing content that's going to really lure a lot of people to watch. And I fear that putting out these kinds of Change My Minds are going to actually, it's going to turn off Gen Z, and we can't have that. I would say, Crowder, I appreciate you getting back out there. Yes, I hear you. You say that, yeah, it costs a lot of money to run the kind of security necessary. And yes, only someone like you can afford to pay that kind of security. However, maybe try to reshape it. Yes, we get it. You started this whole thing. We get that. But Charlie made it better. I would recommend that you look into doing it almost the way Charlie did it. Do it as an homage to Charlie, if you will. Put up some bulletproof glass. Protect yourself. Absolutely, I get that. But engage the audience. Give us that engaging content that we need. Without that engaging content, people just aren't going to watch. And it looks like I got Katie over in the X Spaces. She's wanting to chime in here. So let me go ahead and let her in. You should be coming in any moment, honey. Are you in? There you are. You're a speaker now. I got you on there. You there, honey? Why can't I hear you? Hello? Speak, honey. Oh, because I got you muted. That's why. There. Go ahead and talk.
Hi.
There we go. Now I got you coming through. I didn't know why it just shut up on me like that. It wasn't working.
No, it's fine. So I just think you raised like a really kind of like good general point of, as the kind of young people move more towards a conservative standpoint, how do we think that we're going to like kind of generate the same type of hype for our causes right now that it's becoming not we used to be the silent majority, right?
Yes.
Right. So now that, anybody, Steven Crowder or whoever is the next, hopefully Charlie Kirk, that picks up the mantle and goes into these spaces and talks to people, I guess, like, do you have any ideas about like how we generate the same kind of hype? I know I'm sort of like blindsiding you with a question, but, You just raised a great point that like the young people are leaning more right, and that's a great thing, but it also might, stagnate our momentum a little bit if we don't like look towards the next thing that generates clicks, whatever, in that same, vein, you know.
That's absolutely it. If it gets boring, people aren't going to watch it. And with Gen Z, we know that we've got to keep them engaged and keep them entertained. And this type of content that Crowder just put out just is not engaging. It's not entertaining. So, do I have any recommendations? I mean, like I was saying, Charlie was doing it. So why not continue doing what Charlie was doing? Do it the same way that he was doing it with added security. Yeah, Crowder started it. We get that. But it's evolved, Crowder. I get that you're trying to bring back what you did. But, I mean, that hit has already been played. You need to be
Right.
playing the new music that's being played, the music that's the hit now. You've got to evolve with the times. So he should really be focusing on trying to do it the way Charlie did. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he could still keep it as changed my mind. He could still post the topic that he wants people to discuss as opposed to it just being an open discussion like Charlie did. He could still do that where he hones the topic of discussion, but he should do it in the format that Charlie was doing it now. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
What are yours?
No, agreed. And I don't know that either of us have the answer. I think it's whoever is going to be next. Like obviously, the next one is going to be the next one, and they're going to find something that both Crowder and Charlie maybe weren't doing that captures the mind of the youth. But I agree with you. I don't think that Crowder picking back up something that he dropped, years ago is necessarily it. So I'm 100% with you there.
I mean, unfortunately, here's the thing. One of the reasons that Charlie was so damn good at it was he started so young. And so he was doing these while he was in his 20s. So here he is, this 20-something-year-old guy showing up to have discussions with college kids. And the thing that he has is that he didn't go to college. So come on, prove him wrong. He's an idiot, right? He didn't go to college. They're the smart ones. They should be able to do so. But, I mean, Crowder's pushing 40. I mean, listen, I like to pretend I'm young. I love pretending that I'm young, but at
You
the
and me
same
both, babe.
time, I know I'm not young, and I know that I'm not as appealing to young kids as a young kid is. And that's why Charlie was so successful with it. And so immediately you've got a guy, middle-aged guy, sitting down saying, "Hey, kids, come talk to me, kids." I'm sorry, it doesn't have the same appeal or lore. I almost feel like he should bring one of his younger staff. You got Ginger Snap. He's a younger guy. Have him come up and take the mantle instead. Ginger Snap
Well, I
can
think
hold his own.
or he had to have, like you said, he had to have advertised it more. So he got people like Dean, right? Like the deans of the world. Like he either had to stand his own against the quote unquote best of the left and give them the opportunity, or not. Like, him just going in and talking, like you said, you made this point, like he was talking to a bit of an echo chamber. It just that is not the same impactful moment as, I completely understand. It's more of a security vulnerability, for him to, advertise in advance where he's going to be so that people like that could be there. 100% get it. So I'm not saying that that's what he should have done. He shouldn't. Don't put himself at risk or whatever. But I think what we're saying is, there's something new, there's something fresh that we have to find to fill this gap that Charlie left, and also close the loop of the security aspect as well.
And I'm happy that he threw something together so quickly. so we didn't go a long period of time without
We
having
needed
one of these types
something.
of events.
Right. It's
So-
like it was some homage to Charlie. It was like
So-
a hey, we're not going to let this, mantle be dropped. Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that. So, but I feel like, you know what? Maybe if he had reached out to TPUSA, okay, or even what is it, YAF, all right? If he had reached out to one of those two groups, they yeah, it's a short notice thing, but they would have gotten the word out rapidly to those young kids, and it would have gotten out. So Crowder needs to come to the realization that even I struggle with, and that's that we're not as young as we used to be, and we don't have the same connection with the kids like we used to. So that's what I feel like he needed to do. But he did do something that I am happy to see him do. He posed a challenge to the professors, and I just want to play that for everyone real quick.
We're actually going to be starting or calling for formal debates with professors at schools. And the only way we can think to get these people to show up is to offer up $10,000 to the school for whatever cause of their choice. And so we have reached out, and any Tom, Dick, Harry, or Karen who will respond.
Gotta love that he threw in the Karen comment there.
And take the $10,000 offered up as a charitable contribution in any of the departments of political science or liberal arts at the University of Texas, at Kansas University, UCLA, Cal Berkeley, Stanford, USC, Penn State, Columbia, NYU, Harvard, Boston University, any of their esteemed professors in these schools who are willing to have a debate with a college dropout comedian. They can name the time, the place, pick the moderator, and the rules. It should be an easy day out.
I like that. And that's what we
Wow.
need to be seeing. We need to be that kind of content would be engaging.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is like if they were willing to do like the deans. So I said dean, but professors even better.
Exactly.
Because no offense to the professors, but they espouse, they hold themselves to a higher standard than even the deans and such do, the Harry Sissons or whatever. But honestly, they're the ones that need to be taken out of peg even worse.
Yeah. And thank you for clarifying the Harry Sissy deans as opposed to like the dean of the campus. Because that was immediately what I was thinking whenever you were saying deans.
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry. I was talking about the dean, whoever his name is. I don't even know his name, but you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. So yeah, and him inviting the professors out is just ideal because like very much the way that I'm saying right now, you have a middle-aged man challenging young college kids. Immediately the college kids are going to assume that this middle-aged man is going to know more than them because he's been on the earth longer. Where Charlie Kirk was approximately the same age as the kids and openly admitted that he didn't go to college. So now how about a middle-aged man debating college professors that are about the same age as him or even older than him with a plethora of degrees? Now we're looking at a challenge. And that would be engaging content, where unfortunately where this once was engaging content, it is no longer, especially with the added security that we're seeing. Just my thoughts on it. Now, there was one segment of the whole thing that frustrated the hell out of me, and I felt like either Crowder was pulling his punches or he's slipping. I wanted to play that. Honey, did you want to review that with me?
Sure.
Okay, here we go. So this is the girl that sat down, and I would say that she was the most left-leaning person that sat down with him. But I wouldn't even consider her left-leaning based on some of the things that she said. She just doesn't really have a grasp of politics, or maybe she does, but she has a misconception of things, and I just wanted to play that. Let me go ahead and load that up here. Here we go.
Let's move on to our next conversation with Madison, like the town.
Allow me to assert the premise today
which is that today, especially in 2025, I am presupposing that predominantly the political violence right now is coming from the left, setting a tenor and tone where everything you see here today is necessary. And if you disagree with that, you're more than welcome to change my mind.
Yeah.
All right, so which part of that, the left is predominantly responsible for the tone of political violence today, do you disagree with?
Well, I have to think that we first have to consider how many people are on the left and what is the true ideology and mythos behind this new occurrence of violence that we see with the left.
Okay.
Of course, I mean, there's potential skews of media. I don't doubt that crime is not happening, but how many people are truly committing crime out of the sake of leftism or out of the sake of radicalism, or could it be plastered on there just to get this ball rolling about narrative? The only other question that I had, a personal question about you, is, and it's a tough one.
Well, is it related to the topic?
It is.
Okay.
This is her trying to do a gotcha question, and frankly, it was annoying. But I think he handled this one well.
Would Jesus be on the left or the right?
Well, that's a conversation for another day. We talk about that in church quite a bit. I don't necessarily know that he would fit within the current American left-right paradigm.
So I think he handled that question well. But
Yeah, that was just a curveball of she had that in the hopper that she wanted to throw out, and it had really nothing to do with the narrative that they were actually talking about. So yeah, I agree. I would just kind of like throw that to the side and be like, all right, let's actually talk about what we're talking about. So agreed.
yeah, so he handled that well. But then I don't think that he handled some of these other things well. And she's going to start elaborating here.
But I will tell you one thing. Jesus would certainly be against political violence as a form of intimidation or coercion. It seems to me like, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not disagreeing with the idea, the uptick that there is an increase in political violence from the quote-unquote left. You're just not sure if you define them as left?
Partially, yeah. I just don't necessarily want to just assign political violence or terrorism directly to the left, because we see political violence across the world in forms of autocratic or conservative ideologies. So maybe China is a really good example.
And this is where she starts going batshit crazy.
Yeah. And hold on, so I think the original premise of the question was, I mean, at least what I inferred was in America, right? Do you agree or disagree that the left is attributed with the most amount of violence in America?
Exactly.
And she's going off on like China, worldwide. Okay, we're not talking about a global landscape. We're like, I think Crowder was talking about, especially in the light of like Charlie Kirk, like that's the lens we're viewing this argument through. That was in America was heavily inferred with the question. So for her to go like totally off base on that and put the global, lens on that question is just like obfuscation.
And that's exactly what she does throughout the entire conversation, is she refuses to acknowledge that obvious left-wing violence in America is left-wing. She gives them all excuses and claims that none of them are actually, you can't say that they're actually left-wing.
Yeah, she dilutes the pool. All right, she dilutes it with like a worldwide pool as opposed to being like, look, we're talking about America.
Yes, and then she continuously goes on about global, and he keeps trying to bring her back to local, to domestic, but she keeps pushing global. But she says some asinine shit. Let's keep listening.
Arguably Russia,
of leftist violence?
Of leftist violence, especially. Or, well, no, autocratic and conservative violence.
China would be conservative?
I would believe so, because they're an autocracy. So
she goes into saying that she thinks China is conservative, and she thinks Marx was a conservative.
They have to practice conservative ideologies to obtain, they can't liberate their people. That's what the left is. That's what liberation is.
And that's where this is where I came to realize that she has no idea. And I've said this before in the past. One of the biggest reasons why I think so many quote unquote liberals are liberals is because they get terms mixed up and confused. When you ask them, are they a lib? They hear liberal. They automatically think liberty. And therefore they think they're liberal because they think people should have all this liberty, but that would actually be more of a libertarian mindset.
And I can kind of see, like, look, okay, like knowing the definitions, and then also looking at the countries, if I didn't know them as intimately as I do, I can kind of see it. So hear me out. I can kind of see where she's coming from. In places like China or, whatever, those type of quote unquote autocratic, they do, espouse some conservative beliefs, same-sex marriage. There are certain like social issues that they are very, very conservative about. Right. But that's like the limit of it. That is at the expense of all of the other all the other like mechanisms in which they enact control over their populace that is entirely libertarian, non-Republican, any qualifier that falls under the conservative umbrella. But to somebody like her, if she hears, oh, China, she's going to think, oh, well, they're not allowed to be gay there. They're not allowed to do this there. So they must be conservative when
And
they're not, right?
So
You get
that's
what I'm
where the
saying?
whole, yeah, but that's where the whole confusion comes in. And I hate
Agreed.
this. I hate this about the term conservatism or conservative when it comes to politics, is we all have to remember that the term conservative, the word means to conserve. And so a conservative group in one nation seeking to conserve their prior culture and political atmosphere from their history, from their historical existence,
Yeah.
is completely different
Yep.
than the conservatives
Yep.
in America seeking to
Agreed.
conserve American
Agreed.
culture. Okay, so
Agreed.
just because there's aspects of China that want to conserve that homosexuality shouldn't be a thing there, and at the same time, you have Americans that want to conserve homosexuality not being a thing here. That doesn't mean that they want to conserve identical cultures.
Agreed.
There's still
Agreed. That's
separate
what I'm good.
cultures that share
Agreed.
similarities. And that's the big issue that we have. But then we have this chick sitting here saying that the left is about liberation. And I think that's because she's completely mixed up her terms of, like I said, liberal. People think liberal, they think it's actually liberty. But no, those are two
Right.
different terms. And the best way I always like to think about putting this is, okay, to be a libertarian, you believe that everyone should have the liberty to do whatever they want. Okay, but to be a liberal, you believe that the government should be able to do it and to liberally take control of anything they want to. And that's kind of the way I separate the two of them to try to break it down for people. But he's
Yeah,
conflated them.
they'll never
together.
admit that. They'll never admit that. They don't realize that that is what they actually stand for.
Yes, but she's
Right, but
conflated
it
the two,
is.
brought
But
them
it
back
is.
together,
Right.
and
Right.
she's sitting here saying that the left, its origin is all about liberation, but that's where she's wrong, because
Yeah.
the terms left and right, they stem back to the French Revolution, and that was where you had the governing body sitting in assembly. And on the left side of the aisle, you had all of the revolutionists that wanted to overthrow the king and disband the government and throw away their whole body of government and their monarchy and their constitution and write a whole new constitution and just completely throw away what was France. And then you had all the people on the right side of the aisle that wanted to preserve the monarchy. And that's the origin of the terms left and right when it comes to politics. It's not
And it
about
doesn't
liberation,
necessarily
it's about revolution, it's about
translate.
revolting. The left is about revolting against the current
Right.
government. That's what
Right.
it's about.
Yep.
But
All right. Sorry, honey. I derailed you. Go ahead.
No, but that's what she's consistently getting wrong here, but let's keep listening.
Well, I don't know how familiar you are with the CCP, but they're communist, and they did so under the guise of liberating people, and then of course you don't actually have any democratically held elections again. So they are communist. They've done so to liberate people, namely from the decadence, the quote unquote shackles of the.
So that's what he's trying to do, is he's trying to use her definition of the left as being about liberation to then define communist as liberating people from democracy. But that's where I feel like he's screwing up, is that he is conceding the definition that she has proposed. And this causes him to start really, really dropping the ball on this whole discussion.
Western world, I'm just a little bit, I guess, flummoxed as to how you would define communist China, the Communist Chinese Party, as right-wing.
Well, because when Marx wrote his communist ideologies, it was conservative based. He didn't enjoy other people, races. He wanted to eliminate races.
What does it have to do with
It
conservatism?
has to do with human rights, because conservatism isn't looking to liberate people from or define human rights. It's looking to remove human rights. Conserving the
And that's what I'm saying. She's really got all of her shit mixed up here. She's sitting here
Yeah.
saying that conservatives about denying people human rights, but I don't think she understands what the hell human rights are.
Yeah,
really
and who they come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And that's what I've said a million times.
Ours are unalienable, gifted by God, right? Hers are granted by the government, and that's a very important distinction.
Yes. And you know, but yet whenever something's being taken away, okay, if the government grants the rights, then when the government takes them away because the ruling parties have switched, then your rights they're not human rights, they're not being denied you, you know? And in order to say that you can't take away those rights, that requires you to appeal to a higher power. And we know they're not appealing to nature because nature doesn't give them what they want. If a man wants to be a woman, he can't naturally just transition to a woman. It's just not possible. Okay? So they're not appealing to nature, so therefore they have to be appealing to a higher power, but they don't want to acknowledge a higher power. And that's where their whole argument falls apart. But that's why I also say the left is all about revolting against the establishment, revolting against government altogether. It's why I've said in the past, the whole reason that the left, the Democrats, have embraced transgender ideology is because it requires the rejection of God. And by rejecting the existence of God, you're rejecting the existence of a creator. By rejecting the existence of a creator, therefore, government grants you your rights. And government giveth, government can taketh away. But you know I've said that a million times, honey. You've heard me say it to you a million times.
Yep.
That's
beliefs of the state and conserving the beliefs of elitism.
Okay, so what if your premise is flawed? So what if conservatism, and I understand, by the way, I agree with you, it means different things across. For example, conservative in the UK. In Canada, you're basically a liberal or a liberal separatist. There's no real conservative party.
And so this is where Crowder tries to get into explaining that, yes, conservatism means different things in different countries, but he doesn't elaborate. And so now to Gen Z that he's trying to appeal to with this content, they're not going to understand what the hell he's talking about. And that's where I feel he dropped the ball yet again. And these are important discussions that if you're going to be putting it out for the world to see, you've got to nail your point. You can't just half-ass your way through it like he seemed to do on this.
And that's where like Charlie was uniquely gifted, right?
Yes.
He would just like draw it back and narrow it in and just like have the kill shot, right? That was a horrible. Sorry, that was a horrible statement.
Horrible.
I'm sorry, but you get what I was saying. I'm sorry.
Shame.
Yep. But you get what I was saying. Like he would pull it in and just narrow it down and just be like, look, this is what you're trying to say, but here's what it actually means, and this is what we actually believe, and it was irrefutable.
Yep. And I just feel like Crowder is not afraid to sit in his studio and say these things on a camera, point blank, without pulling punches, won't hold back. But whenever he's face to face, he seems to want to be polite. And you can be polite while still being honest and push back. You don't have to push back rudely. But
and the one thing I'll say,
the notion in the matter of in the means of just being polite, that's ceding the argument.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say is, you know, I'm not like the biggest, you know, Steven Crowder fan, but he is a little bit out of practice. So I'll grant him, you know, a little bit of rustiness, you know, when it comes to, you know, his ability to be agile and like nimble in an argument and like really like, you know, nail those punches. So, you know, it's like if I'm refereeing like a boxing match, it's like, yeah, he glanced off the chin.
Mm-hmm. And yes, agreed. He used to be a lot sharper with this, and he used to push back a little bit more. But it's almost like he pulled his punches, and yes, probably because he's a little, you know, a little rusty on the whole thing. But I also think that him having it in this small confined space, separating himself from the audience the way that he has, which, like I said, I understand why, security reasons. I still think that that separation has caused him to try to be more polite than he should be.
It doesn't sharpen the axe. It blunts you know, it doesn't sharpen the axe, right? It's like
it feels like a more private conversation, and when you're having that private conversation, you don't want to offend the person that you're having that discussion with. But
yeah.
these types of discussions, you kind of have to offend them a little bit in order
Especially
to
if he's
really get
picking
to the
up,
root of the argument.
especially if he's picking up the mantle of Charlie Kirk.
Exactly. So I could go on critiquing this entire thing, but I'm not going to get into that because it really is just a long segment here. It's like 12 minutes long, and I'm not going to go for the full 12 minutes, but I think the point was made on that. Now, a lot of people are probably expecting me to dive into the whole government shutdown thing, and frankly, I mean, you got the left saying it's the right's fault and the right saying it's the left's fault, and in reality, you know, Chuck Schumer controls Senate Democrats, and all he has to do is tell them to either vote for this clean CR to keep the government going or vote against it. Chuck Schumer holds that power, no one else does. And if the Democrats are still continuing to vote against it, it's because Chuck has ordered them to. So that's clear as day. But the thing I really want to say about it is, when was the last time a non-federal employee was actually affected by a government shutdown?
So, I mean, I saw videos of TSA apparently not showing up to an airport,
So
but
wait a
that
second.
could
You mean to tell me that people move through an airport faster?
no, like they had lines. And again, like that could have been for any number of reasons. I don't know if the TSA is, so again, you know far more about like, you know, what is governed by federal bodies than I do. But that's the only thing I saw was like TSA, I guess, didn't show up, but that was just a video, right? That could be,
And TSA,
it could have been a long backup and have nothing to do with TSA and whatnot. So
and in the 25 years of TSA, they've never caught a single terrorist. They've never caught a single bomb. The only thing they've ever seized is a bunch of freaking water bottles and shampoo bottles.
they employed a lot of people though, honey. I mean, come on. They beefed up that federal budget a hell of a lot.
They employed a lot of people, a lot of unnecessary people. So yeah, they did do that. You know what? There was a lot of groping, a lot of federal groping. Definitely was unnecessary federal groping. But hey, all they're proving is that we don't need them. But it doesn't really affect anybody. Most people would have no idea if the government shut down if it wasn't for these politicians making it bigger than it is. The reality is that federal employees get a lot of extra time off, and then they get all their back pay. I mean, honey, you know, I've got a brother and sister-in-law who worked for the federal government. They never complained about a government shutdown. They knew they were getting their back pay. They just got extra vacation days. Hell,
Yep.
my brother used to rub it in my face. So you need to come work in the government. You get extra days. So that's about all I had to say about that. But the other thing I did want to talk about, and I've just found it absolutely hysterical, that's these sombrero memes that we've been seeing going around. I'm sure you've seen them, honey.
Oh, goodness.
I love them. I love them. I can't get enough of them. Let's see here. Let me get this pulled up so that way we can take a look at this. All right. We got all of these sombrero memes that Donald Trump started. He started posting these sombrero memes over on True Social, and then all these other people have chimed in on it, and it has been absolutely hysterical watching this. And then you've got some left-wingers they're trying to push back by putting sombreros on Trump and Vance, but I'm sorry, it just doesn't land. My favorite one is this one here.
Bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented...
For anyone just listening there, so that is Hakeem Jeffries, him doing his talking, and Trump posted this on True Social. All of a sudden, he gets a sombrero on his head, he gets his little Mexican mustache, and then a bunch of Trumps pop up behind him as a mariachi band, and it is hysterical. But these have been great. I've been enjoying the hell out of them. But this was the scene that we had last night on Timcast TRL. We had everyone sitting there. Now Tim's been broadcasting from TPUSA all week, and they've been broadcasting from Charlie's studio with Charlie's chair left vacant in Memorial. But you got 4 guys sitting there with sombreros, and throughout the entire episode, mariachi music just kept popping up out of the blue. That was a great freaking time. So if you haven't seen that, you should jump on over and check that out. But honey, did you hear P. Diddy has been sentenced?
I did. I think it was only like 4 years, even though like leading up to his sentencing, he's sitting there with his head in his hands, and he's okay. So, sorry, real quick. So I heard that the arguments his lawyer made during the sentencing hearing was that in 2004, he won the best menswear award. And that was the reason why he needed to, he deserved to be given a light sentence. Right. It wasn't about, this, it was about breaking barriers, and that should be considered. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, some of the arguments that these people come up with are absolutely absurd. Just like we also just found out that the would-be Brett Kavanaugh assassin from a couple years ago, he now identifies as trans, and he's demanding leniency due to his transgender identity. Yeah, that's the kind of shit that they do argue now. It's best menswear, so therefore he deserves leniency. Transgender, so he deserves leniency.
Mitigating circumstances, honey. These are very serious mitigating circumstances. I'm sorry. I don't know why you can't see why these are not legitimate mitigating circumstances.
If you're a twisted, screwed up individual, you deserve to be locked away and kept away from polite society. Period. That's it. I don't care. I don't care if once upon a time you won an award. People go crazy all the time, and crazy people shouldn't be a part of society. That's the way I look at it. But we also had this other breaking news, and I don't know if you heard about this, honey. I just, as I was trying to put together the show, I happened upon this, and we've got Colin Rugg reporting on this. A man who randomly stabbed a 6-year-old to death, let out of prison after serving just 10 years. Father of the boy vows to kill him if he crosses paths with him. Ronald Exantis broke into the home of Tipton family in Kentucky and stabbed 6-year-old Logan to death in 2015. After just 10 years in prison, Exantis has been released early due to quote-unquote good behavior. Exantis was sentenced to 20 years in 2018, but found not guilty by reason of insanity. And so,
I mean, he didn't stab anybody else while he was in prison, honey.
But so he gets off of a guilty charge by pretending to be insane, and now he's going to be released because he's been well behaved during those years. But isn't he freaking insane to the point that he's stabbing 6-year-olds to death? We got a news report on it. I want to play that real quick.
Now, held him totally deep in my arms. And finally, he took his last breath, looked at me, and closed his eyes, and he was gone.
Ronald Exantis traveled from Indianapolis to Versailles, walked into the Tipton's home, and attacked the family in their sleep. Logan was killed, and his father and 2 sisters were injured.
He snaps, and he just stands up with me sitting on top of him, and he throws me across the room. 10, 15 feet, he throws me across the room and goes after her.
3 years later, in 2018, Exantis was found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity, but convicted of assaulting other family members. And just this month, October 1st, Exantis was released early from prison for good behavior.
It's infuriating that a 6-year-old was killed sleeping in his bed, and someone literally only did 10 years in prison, and he didn't even do the time for that. He did time for assault charges. It's just infuriating.
But the family says it isn't just anger they're living with, it's fear.
Me and my siblings, and even my mom and dad, from here on out, we have the burden of making sure that he doesn't come back.
He told her he was going to kill every one of us. So now, I've got to be on extra guard to protect my kids, because I will not lose another one. Not like this. I laid in bed. I gave up. I gave up on life. I gave up on my family. I gave up on everybody. I just wanted to die.
Everybody deserves a fighting chance to have justice for them, and it's not.
I've had my talks with God, because I'm not afraid to tell you all. I told the court, if I ever cross paths with him, I will kill him.
Yeah, I'm here.
I will kill him where he stands.
This is insane. This is just... He should not be out on the streets. And 6 years old, that has, for some reason, it's... I know what the reason is, but when I hear of 6-year-olds dying, it affects me more than I hear of any other age. Main reason being is when Sandy Hook happened, and those 6-year-olds were shot and killed. My youngest son was just 6 years old at that time. And so I just sit here and think about how just bad, or how young they were, because my son was so young at that moment, in time when that happened. So 6 years old, the man gets 10 years and doesn't even get convicted of the murder. That's just totally insane. But anyways, yeah, that's about all I have for this evening. I was just wanting to get on here and do a little bit of stuff. There was so much other news to get into, but I didn't pull all of that, and I just wanted to get on here and touch base with everybody again real quick. But hey, listen, I'm going to go ahead and call it an evening, because I'm trying to take my lady out and have a little bit of a good time on a Friday night. So I hope y'all aren't upset with that. And so we're going to go ahead and leave it there for the evening. And I'll be back next week, and we can continue discussing all the news at that point in time. But until then, I will see everybody next week.
What's this?
Talk about it.
What's this?
Talk about it.